On this edition, our theme is self-love, with the help of Dr. Mary Grace Pennella, founder of Stillpoint Family Chiropractic, and then later in the program, Rick Monteith, president of Georgetown Market, will be joining us and talking about an exciting event that you might want to be a part of coming up on May 3rd. I'm Richard Brendan, and the conversations begin now. Dr. Mary Grace Pennella, welcome back to the studio.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again.
It's so nice to know you make house calls. Not many chiropractors do that in this town.
Not so much, studio call, actually.
Exactly.
Table's a little stiff, but we can make it work.
Yeah. You've been on several times before. We've talked a lot about a lot of other issues that I think were very important to people's health, self-care, actually. And today we want to talk about something that I think is probably the most important topic. As a matter of fact, I interviewed a man by the name of Brant Morgan. He was the first shaman trained under Don Miguel Ruiz in 1994. So he's like the top guy that's sent out teaching 4 agreements. And he talked about this same topic too, and that's self-love. And you're the one that brought that up, and that intrigued me. So why self-love? What are you seeing in your life, and also perhaps with all the patients that you've worked with over the years, why that is such an important topic to address?
Well, I think in the day and age in which we live, there's just so many demands on us that require us to be there for other people.
Yeah.
We talk about the sandwich generation who's taking care of kids as well as their parents, and then we talk about the many, many things that are demands that are made on us from a job point of view, and even people who haven't been in the workforce and going back to the workforce. And I just see it as so scattered, and I see it as I'm being there for this one, and I'm there for that one, and I'm there for that one, and if I have time, I'll do something for me.
Yeah.
And we're always kind of the last thought. And, it may sound very trite, and it's, the thing they say in the airplane, you have to put your own mask on first before you can help anybody else. And I, just don't see enough of that taking care of self. So I'm kind of making 2016 a commitment to self. And so personally, I'm doing a lot more self-introspection. I'm taking better care of me. I am spending more time in the gym, finding different ways to be in the gym. So I'm the first guinea pig in my office, without a doubt. So, as it goes for me, then I encourage the rest of my patients.
Yeah, there's so many avenues we can take on this. Maybe we'll cover a few. One is the physical, such as slowing down, exercise, those kind of things. The other is the inner work, the thoughts, the self-critical, the judge that's always talking to many of us. That's something that I've been aware of, and also in talking to so many guests over the years, it's always amazed me that given the amount of radio shows there are, and talk shows, and DVDs, and seminars, that lack of confidence, fear of failure, self-critical judgment is still number one on the list.
And you're not reading my notes, but you hit 2 of my 3 highlights.
Okay.
Present time consciousness is the other one.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the importance of that, because there is more and more buzz about that. I found I'm in that now, but for quite a while I was preaching it, but not really doing it. It's easy to say it's important. People find it's harder to be disciplined to flesh it out in their life.
I'm certainly resonating with exactly what you're saying. I have talked about it for a very long time, and I'd like to tell you I know exactly which book finally tripped the trigger that said, you know what, if you're not here, where the hell are you? You're not.
It's a good book title if it hasn't been taken.
If it hasn't been taken. And so I finally have thought, oh, okay. And so, just to give you, for instance, the other day I had a headache, and I'm not personally someone who takes something to get rid of a headache. Most of the time I get adjusted. And this particular day, it was a weekend, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be here with this headache, and what's really going on, and what does that really feel like? And, the expression, again, comes from the world of self-help: experience your experience and then move on. And, I think we rarely do that. And so, in that experience, first there's my doctor head that says, okay, where's the head hurt? Where, what part? Is it the occipital bone? Is it the frontal bone? Are you having a sinus headache? Is it a band headache? And then finally, the monkey brain was barking so loud, I was like, okay, stop. Just be with it. And so you're right. I'm spending more time in that zone too. And it's, can't always say it's gratifying. Sometimes it's, it's like, wow, maddening. But for the most part, it's a new experience that adds color to the world, to my world anyway.
Yeah.
So,
do you find it helpful, or do you believe it would be helpful if you're not doing it, if there was more accountability for people to do that? Say a meditation group each week, or a friend or two that would even at least call and hold them accountable to that.
no doubt.
Because we get started so quickly when we hear a message, read a book, or listen to a tape, and we start it for maybe a day or two, and then all of a sudden the busyness, ironically, takes away the silence, and we don't get back to it.
Right. No doubt about it. That's certainly a help. And there are some people who really can't function without those kinds of accountability. And I have to say that, it's a beautiful gift to know that there are those kinds of things right here in town.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday night at the Hermitage, there's a meditation circle. So, and doing things with friends is always a good thing because you kind of encourage one another and you don't want to disappoint the other. And so that's certainly a really good way to look at it. The bottom line is nobody can do it for you. And
Right.
even the buddy system, it only goes so far, but it's that internal motivation.
Yeah.
That we
Well,
gotta
what we're
tap
talking
into.
about, I think, is stillness. And what I'm discovering is it doesn't necessarily mean having to meditate to get to that point.
Not at all. Not at all. Which is a beautiful gift if you think about it. If you can sit, and where do you sit? Only, the only place you sit in your day if you're a really busy person, and you're usually there for, 2-3 minutes. If you can sit and breathe, wow, that's a stillness that really resonates and kind of can energize and lift you up.
Yeah, probably one of the best ways you can do that without freaking out about meditation. If those of you who are listening right now and perhaps haven't tried meditation yet or don't even know how to start, get out into the woods more, get out into nature more, because there is something healing. Richard Louv, I believe, called it vitamin E or vitamin N for nature. But when you're out there in the trees or a park or a pond, it just instantly that stillness comes in because you're focusing on the simple things around you. And that's really what we're talking about, is stopping the monkey mind, all the chatter going on.
And it energizes all 5 of your senses, especially at this time of year, because there's smells, the smell of the earth. Maybe someone has mown the lawn. The trees rustle and you hear those, they sound different than when they're in full leaf. There's all things to excite your senses. And when you have excited your senses, you've essentially turned the monkey brain off.
Yeah.
And so also there's really an energy that's in nature that you can benefit from. We love to tell people to go barefoot in the grass, and it's not just because it's a cute thing to do, but you can absorb electrons from the earth, which can slow down your aging, which is another gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Mom Nature.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm noticing. I'm learning how to just be still with maybe one thing, an object in the room even. So there's meditation, and those of you who are listening know you can get on the internet and find so many different groups in the city in which you're listening to this show from. But also there's teachings, free downloads you can even do with meditation. But I think the important thing is just stilling that mind. And also, what about being aware of what you're telling yourself over and over in a 24-hour period?
Absolutely. It's huge because we have the most amazing computer in the entire world, and it is between our ears. And its programming depends on what we say and what we think. And so if we're constantly berating ourselves for not being good enough, not doing a good job, or making a mistake, we're putting in negative programming, and the only thing that can come from that is negative outcome. So even if all you do is, once a day you say, walk past a mirror and say, "Good morning, gorgeous," that's a gift. That's a positive input. And reminding yourself that everything you say and everything you think really does have an impact on your body, not just your mental state, but your physiologic state as well. Your health is dependent on what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
That may sound like a big stretch for people who have pretty serious illnesses, but if you do the work to think about and review your life and find, where the trip-ups might have been, an awful lot of people report a resentful issue or a huge anger issue that happened in their lives. And then, it seems like there's a disconnect between that and the showing up of the illness, but a lot of times there's a pretty straightforward path. So the reversal is possible also because we have these most amazing bodies that respond to our thoughts and our actions.
Yeah. What keeps us from simply loving ourselves? I mean, even Jesus talked about that in the scriptures. How ironic that on this show we often say what this show's all about is loving ourselves, one another, and the earth, and probably in that order too, because we can't love others and we can't love the earth until we first love ourselves. So there are times when I've not done that, so I get that. I'm still, though, amazed that that probably is the number one issue for so many people.
You know, I just keep going back to the pressures of life. I think that's where it comes from. And then we kind of perpetuate it with, generation after generation. If you look at, say, how people of our generation were raised, a lot of times we had a stay-at-home mom in the picture. And that created an environment that is different for the children right now who are coming home and who are being shuttled to different events as opposed to just being and playing and having a good time. And so we kind of keep that ball rolling in that direction. We're doing that get ahead, gotta get ahead. And curiously, if you think about where most people carry their stress, it's at the base of their neck.
Yeah.
And so when we look at them, they have forward head carriage.
Yes.
And so that forward head posture is all about getting ahead. We're trying so hard to get ahead. We've moved our heads forward of our shoulders. And
why is that? Why do we tend to carry stress at the base of our neck? What's the reason?
It's that hurry posture. It's that I've got to get ahead. It's that I've got to get things done. I've got to move. I've got to move. I've got to move. Curiously, in Europe, that's not the main stress zone that we see. As chiropractors, we see the subluxation and the stress and the tension hanging out in the necks. In Europe, I've been told that it is actually mid-thoracic or mid-chest in the back. And I can't even hazard a guess why, except that probably they're not as crazy about moving forward as we are. We're a gotta-get-ahead society. And we're kind of singular like that in the world.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing it in the physiology of our people. And so, in that same vein, that gotta-get-ahead, it's such a big priority for us that taking time to go within is not valued much in society.
Yeah.
It's valued on the fringes, and thank God for that. Happy fringe member right here. But it's not mainstream. And so, we keep giving voice to, shows like yours keep giving voice to getting to the stillness, getting within and finding a loving place to come from.
Yeah. It was January of this year when Spirit began to really talk to me about remembering what it felt like when I came out of my amnesia in 2010. I've shared that story before on this air. But there was like a pure bliss for about a week until I felt like I needed to get back to work because I felt guilty not being there helping the team. It was a hospice company. And got sucked into the busyness again, right? And then eventually kind of got away from all of that. But here's the observation I made, and something you said earlier reminded me of that. I did not know that most people who know me, when they see me walk, they saw me walking, leaning over, almost hunched over, like a man who's got to get somewhere. And what that came up, though, several different times with several different friends. One, a friend I hadn't seen in a long time, and said, "Wow, do you know you're walking straight?" And I said, "You're kidding. I've known this person for 12 years. Hadn't seen him in 5 years." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I feel different." And they said, "Well, you look different. So what you're saying is true." And that's really one of the gauges I guess we could have is those of you who are listening, as you're going about your day, walking through the home, walking at work, grocery store, just stop for a second. And are you walking straight up or are you hunching over as if you've got to get somewhere?
Yeah.
Because we can feel it, can't we?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. But you have to be mindful. You have to we go back to that present time consciousness. You have to be mindful and being in your body. I love the patients that come to me that are so completely aware of their bodies that they can tell me almost down to the vertebra what I need to look for and what I need to pay attention to. And I equally love the ones who come in and I have to introduce them to their bodies because it's such an awakening and such a beautiful awakening when they realize, I have some control. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it is, if you just stand there and it's like, okay, where are your shoulders? Are they down? Are they up around your ears? Are they rolled forward? Or are you standing tall like you own your space? And you do. You own your environment. That is your body. Treat it well. It's a glorious gift and celebrate it. find reasons to celebrate it.
Yeah.
And no matter what condition you find yourself in, if you're still breathing, it's a good celebration. And it's an opportunity for gratitude.
Absolutely.
And a possibility for different and more.
We'll talk about the whole gratitude thing here in a short bit. But first, for those of you who've just joined us, we're bringing Love to Life today with Dr. Mary Grace Pennella, founder of Stillpoint Family Chiropractic right here in the Indianapolis area. We'll have more of this conversation. But first, here's a word from our sponsors.
Wellness is an active process of becoming more aware and making better choices that move you in the direction of a more successful life. Choices to eat well, move well, and think well enable your body to live well. When your spine is aligned properly, your brain and body are connected. Stillpoint Family Chiropractic is a family wellness center where we focus on your lifestyle and the impact it has on your spine, brain, and your life. Find us on Facebook at Stillpoint Family Chiropractic, or our phone number is 317-863-0365.
Richard Brendan, Bringing Love to Life, is underwritten in part by Natural Awakenings magazine. Each month, Natural Awakenings takes a practical look at the latest natural approaches to nutrition, fitness, creative expression, personal growth, and sustainable living. The magazine also covers the products and services that support a healthy lifestyle. Natural Awakenings magazine is a free publication and can be found at most healthy lifestyle outlets. Their website is awakenindy.com.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Richard Brendan. It's a joy to have MG, or you might know her as Dr. Mary Grace Pennella, here in the studio. We're talking about a topic I think is so vitally important. I think now more than ever, because actually, MG, when I watch the political race, even Democrats and Republicans and people who even respond to that, and some of the responses I've seen on Facebook, there's so much anger, there's so much hatred, there's so much fear. And to me, I think that's born out of a lack of self-love. We build up the walls. We tend to attack, because what we've learned a lot on this radio show, what you put out does come back to you, whether you call it law of attraction or quantum physics or karma or energy.
Yeah. They all work. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, many of the patients that come to see you, what tends to be their presenting concern? And then often, what is the real issue?
Well, most likely everybody comes in a physiologic state of pain of one sort or another, without a doubt. And I'm pretty clear with them when they walk in the door that I'll address their pain for sure, because that's what brought them in. But pain's a symptom. It's never the cause. The symptom is usually a dis-ease. And I say it that way specifically because somewhere in their body there isn't an ease being expressed, which means that the brain can talk to all body parts and the brain can assess what's coming into all body parts freely and uninterrupted. And it's that interruption, wherever you find it in the body, that creates that dis-ease.
Yeah.
And left alone long enough, a dis-ease can very often lead to a real disease. And so, the pain's never the problem. It's the call for help, if you will. It's the siren song that says, hey, pay attention to me, I need something. And so, together we work through and try and find what it is. And, in some cases it can be, we do an overall assessment. In some cases it can be as simple as helping someone to realize they need to drink more water in a day. Or find a way to be peaceful and quiet. In my office, and in my life, I'm pretty clear that, you can call it prayer, you can call it meditation, you can call it going within. My prayer life is busy. I'm thanking, I'm praising, I'm petitioning for something.
Yeah.
Those are all action verbs. Those are all action words that say I'm doing something. I rarely spend time in that contemplative prayer so that I can listen for my answers, but I still meditate. And I separate them. But I'm clear that you could call it whatever you like. If you're good at contemplative prayer, please do it. If you even want to dabble in it, there's lots of groups in town that are dabbling in that can help you further it along. But
Right.
But very often it's not the pain. It's it's where's the pain coming from? What created the pain? What physiologic state created the pain? And a lot of times that's a problem with the master control system, and that's your brain and spinal cord and peripheral nerves. And then what caused that? Did we fail to take good care of or be good stewards to this body we have? And then we kind of explore that. It's like, what can you do? What can you change? I'm very clear about the fact that there are no big, grand, hysterical changes that happen in my office.
Yeah.
It's baby steps. If you need to be drinking 70 ounces of water and today you're only drinking 7, you get to drink 7 for the next week, and then maybe you bring it to 9, and then the week after that maybe 11. they're small incremental baby steps because you can manage those
Yeah.
and you can maintain.
Yeah.
And you can't change from 7 to 70 overnight. In the case of water, it's like watering a plant that you haven't watered in 8 months. The water goes right through. All you did was rinse the roots.
Yeah.
The same thing will be true for you. You'll be rinsing your insides and giving your kidneys a workout. Not really what we want, not really staying with you and allowing your body a little more ease because it's hydrated well. So, it's all about what's going on the inside.
There can be a lot of parents, even grandparents listening right now. And one of the observations I've made over the last couple of decades, having been a father, well, still a father, but raising 4 young children and various avenues and interests that they had, sports and stuff like that, it's on the increase. I mean, now little kids have every conceivable sport they can play. Not only that, but they got travel teams separate from the grade school team, junior high team, high school team.
And don't forget community and CYO teams.
No, I know. And then of course, good grandparents feel like they need to go to everything. It's hard to say no. And sometimes I think by not being able to say no, it's one of the ways we don't take care of ourselves very well.
Absolutely. And it's also a bad role modeling for those children because no is a complete sentence. And sometimes no represents a lot of self-love.
Yeah.
And so, and it's hard to remember that even those subtleties really are a model for our children and grandchildren. When we say no, and the reason for the no is that we're going to do something for us and take care of us, that gives them permission to do that. That gives them permission to say, I need to be a priority here, not the game, not all that other stuff. And that's an invaluable lesson. It's a very subtle lesson. It's not an overt one, and it's certainly not a verbal lesson. It's one we pick up with our subtle cues because we're these wonderful human beings that can get those kind of things.
Yeah, I always find that fascinating as I'm learning myself that my happy place, or whatever people used to call it, is available at any point during any day. I look back, and oftentimes there was like living for the weekend, or there was got to be on that beach, or I'm in an amazing interview. I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. An interview he did with 60 Minutes, the entire show was on Jimmy Buffett. He said that, he markets escapism. And Jimmy Buffett shows are so much fun to attend.
They are.
But I wonder how many of those people can sustain that great feeling that night. And it's good they're having that feeling, but they don't have the tools or knowledge to sustain a bit of that throughout the week and then week after week.
That's very true.
Yeah.
There's an interesting corollary to that says, when you laugh, you give your organs an exercise break. And so in India, there are people who laugh every morning to start their day. And it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So again, staying with the idea that you brought up that says, we bring our happy place with us everywhere we go. We just have to notice it.
Yeah.
And, and that good laughter can put you in a completely different state. From a weak state to a peak state. There's only 3 things required. Change your physiology, change your breath, and change your focus.
Yeah.
So changing your physiology by laughing or by standing up straight or by bending over and whatever, just change the state you're in. Next is breathe differently. Laughing is definitely changing your breathing. Without a doubt, laughter changes
Well, and
how
now
you
we're
take air
seeing
in.
we're seeing laughter yoga take off too.
Absolutely.
There's probably people who teach that in every
phenomenal.
city.
It's phenomenal.
I've not done that before. Have you?
I have.
Oh, you have?
It's awesome. We had it in
I mean,
our office
what
for
is
a while.
that about? You're not? Are you in yoga poses and laughing, or what?
No, actually, you're standing a lot laughing, and there's different kinds of laughter, and they kind of have you holding your belly so you know where your laughter's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
And at first, it really does feel forced, and you're like, this is the most stupid thing I've ever engaged in. But literally 5 or 10 minutes into it, you are having the time of your life because you changed your state.
Oh, yeah.
And your body is feeling endorphins, and the laughter yoga goes on for either a 30-minute class or an hour class, and then it ends with a meditation session.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Well, before we get into breath, I need to ask you then, who are some of the comedians or what are some of the movies that make you laugh? Because oftentimes it's good to know that. We can put that in our invisible toolbox. So if we're having a bad day, make sure you have that DVD handy or whatever and put it in. Because there are certain things that will do that for me instantly and others not so much. But we do need to laugh every day.
Absolutely. And it's so fun because I have to tell you, the thing that makes me laugh the most often is not from a movie or a TV show or a DVD. It's an experience I had with my sister. And it's so not going to translate because it's radio, but I can't even describe it to you. The two of us came up and there's a...
Yes, and you're Italian, and you're already talking with your hands.
I'm already talking with my hands. And the conversation was, can you draw these? And it was, she wanted to know if I could draw something. And like my hands are on my sides, and I went like 6 guns out. It broke her up, broke me up. To this day, all we have to say is, can you draw these? And the two of us are lost in gales of laughter. Lost in gales of laughter.
Well, I am quite surprised because I think I've seen every rerun now, and usually it's late night, and my dog is with me, and I'll have belly laughs, but it's Modern Family. For some reason, that show does that for me. Or every old Mel Brooks movie. That was kind of my style of humor, and I guess it still is.
So I guess if I had to pick one movie, it would be Blazing Saddles.
Oh my God! Isn't that classic?
It absolutely is. My sides are hurting now thinking about laughing that much.
I know. I always think about that when I eat beans. I mean, I just feel like I'm around a campfire, and you know what happens then. So
I love that. And the toll booth in the middle of the desert.
Exactly. But just by laughing now, which we genuinely did, it reminds me, and I'm talking as I'm thinking about maybe a next question for you or not, but it reminds me what that does for me.
Yeah.
And maybe a half hour ago, a stressor or something I was thinking about I had to get done by tomorrow, it's gone. Right. In other words, that takes you into the present moment.
Yes,
the physicalness of laughter brings you into the present.
It changes your focus, which is the third part of changing from a weak state to a peak state. It changes your focus.
Yeah.
That's not even, you don't even have to work on that volitionally. By doing the other two things, you will change your focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And laughter's a good focus changer.
Breath, though, is also very important. So let's talk about that because that's a simple technique anybody can do even while they're driving.
Absolutely. And it is the most intimate thing you can do with yourself. It's you're taking the air in and it's processing and it's enlivening you from the inside out. It's a great meditation when you want to be still and be silent. And most people mistakenly think that meditation is I have to silence that monkey mind. No, you have to focus it. Yeah. And if you focus on your breathing, there's lots of different breath work techniques. There is everything from counting your breath to counting the in, counting the out, holding. And one really key thing is breathe out longer than you breathe in. When you breathe out longer than you breathe in, you are actually activating the parasympathetic part of your nervous system, which allows for resting and digesting, for healing, and for being at peace. So in for 3, out for 6 is a great way to go. But even if you just, sit quietly and observe your breath, where's it coming from? Are you breathing in your upper chest? Put your hand on your belly. Are you breathing into your belly? And most women don't want to do it because that would be poking our tummies out. But it's the healthier way to breathe because it exercises the lower part of your lungs. It exercises your diaphragm. It allows for a complete intake of air and exhalation of air.
I'm glad you brought that up because it was only just a few years ago when I learned that I was breathing wrong. There was actually a wrong way to breathe. And I had to have my hand on my belly for quite a while just to make sure I knew I was doing that. But for some reason, I think babies perhaps do that.
They do instinctually.
Okay, but somehow we get away from that as we grow up.
Stress.
Yeah, because it's all shallow, right?
That's right. Shallow breathing. That's physiologically a good thing if somebody's chasing you. You don't want to be taking deep breaths when they chase you. You want to be taking short breaths, and that'll push blood to the muscles, your extremities, so that you can run faster or fight if you have to. It's a very real response, but when our stresses is not a tiger chasing us, but the deadline we have to meet, we have to remember that, not necessary. Let's go within. Let's breathe deep and take it all in and let it all go.
And once again, it goes back to our thoughts, which with all the work that I've done and all the things that I've read and all the guests I've had on the show, I'm still amazed about the power and beauty of the mind and how it can either work against us or for us. Because it is so huge that we know what we tell ourselves because of all the thousands and thousands of thoughts, many of them unconscious, that were being repeated in our own heads.
Right. And it keeps us in a stuck state, if you will. It keeps us in this spiral of negativity because we're not aware of it, because we're not conscious of the thoughts we're having. We're keeping the same thoughts running over and over and over again. And believe me, those tracks are pretty deep in the brain.
Yeah.
And so much like I tell people, if you sweep to one side, learn and sweep to the other side, because you're laying down new tracks in the brain and teaching your brain a new skill. The same is true when we try and reframe our thoughts and our words and our language. There's some pretty groovy deep tracks there that we have to get beyond. But it starts with one thought. It starts with having that positive thought and running that one over and over and over again till its groove gets deeper than the negative one.
Yeah, and oftentimes we have so many stories that we're running in our heads that have no truth to them.
No, but they're a good
story.
story.
They're a good story, and we lean into it.
Oh, yeah. We got it. We own our stories.
I remember the book. I don't know if you remember, years and years ago, Maxwell Maltz wrote a book, Psycho-Cybernetics. It was one of the first books that was coming out like this. Now they're everywhere.
Right.
But he talked about things like this that we're talking about. Like even a person could walk by you. Now, we have no idea that they're thinking about something else and so involved in that, but we immediately think they didn't talk to me. They don't like me. Next thing we know, we're creating this story, and the story is spinning out of control, and that's creating the shallow breathing, and the shallow breathing is creating the stress. And, you're reading that and saying, yeah, that's how it happens.
And I have a beloved coach who said to me, we all make stuff up. Why not make up good stuff?
Yeah.
Why not make the story good?
Right.
Why not make the story good?
Right.
For instance, when I was little, and I would hear an ambulance or a siren of some sort, and my sister was in my sphere. She said, I always think that's a new baby that just can't wait to get here. And instead of, so that I wouldn't be frightened, she planted that seed. And so for the longest time, that's my thought. And it's like, okay, new baby coming, yay. And it's a simple cue. It's a simple trick to triggering a different response.
Yeah. I had Leonard Jacobson on about maybe a month or so ago, and he's a non-duality teacher, teaches around the world. And I know one of the things he said, Eckhart Tolle's been saying this, Jeff Foster, some of you out there probably follow. He's very popular on Facebook, as I'm coming to see. But as another example of loving yourself is that loving the shadow side too. Loving that side of you that has anger or depression or anxiety or fear. For those of you who grew up in a Christian background, I keep thinking about Corinthians when the Apostle Paul talked about that thorn in the flesh and it would never leave him. I think that was Paul's way of saying he knew what his shadow was. Could have been anger, could have been frustration, jealousy, and it just wasn't going. Well, those things aren't meant to go or to be eradicated. I believe it was someone else who said, if anxiety comes up in that present moment, something happens, a thought comes in, and it brings up anxiety, take a moment to hold that thought. That they're like children, and they're meant to be held, not healed. And by holding that, or I know people, and sometimes in the past for me, I'll wake up in the middle of the night, all of a sudden a flood of worry will come in, or something stupid, like somebody said something yesterday, and was it about me? And what they're teaching, and what I'm now teaching and practicing is, no, hold that pain. Don't lean into the story, hold the pain. Because it's teaching me something about me. It's very much part of me. There's no good or bad. That's the non-duality teaching. That's how the mystics saw. But then when I do that, then it's time to let it go because I don't camp out in it. It's almost like a wave that comes in, feel the wave coming over you, let it go back out. And with no resistance, when there's least amount of resistance, then it has less and less power over you.
Absolutely.
And that teaching's as old as the hills, but it's making a resurrection in popularity. Non-duality sounds kind of formal. Present moment, mindfulness is another way of describing it. Buddhists have been teaching that. But that's something I know has been helping me in this self-love.
It's so true, and that's that was akin to what I was saying about hanging in there with the pain of the headache. And you're absolutely right. Our shadow side is not to be denied, because the more we try and stuff it down, the more it's going to come back and bite us in an inopportune time or moment in our lives. And there's a being with it without holding on to it. There's a allowing it to be and allowing what is nothing more, nothing less. Holding with open hands, if you will, that doesn't say, I am my story.
Right.
It is, it exists, and I get to continue on. It's part of who I am, who I have been, but it isn't what I cling to. It isn't who I proclaim to be. It isn't, again, leaning into that story and holding on to the story. It just is.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty subtle difference. You know, I learned those words in a marvelous class a number of years ago. What is, nothing more, nothing less. And for a while, it became a mantra for me. I'm sure there are those around me.
Say that again, because it really is profound. It's simple, but it's profound.
What is, nothing
Okay.
more, nothing less.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you?
For me, it means acknowledge the situation as it is. Acknowledge whether I have power to change it or no power to change it, but acknowledge just what is. And then where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Where do I go? What's my next plan? You know, it doesn't mean I have to fix, change, kill,
And the second
push
part
away
of that
or
is
whatever.
what? What is.
What is, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. That's something the Dalai Lama, who, by the way, is coming to Indianapolis on June 25th. We're all excited about
We
that.
are.
I have a feeling that place is going to pack out. I was surprised to see it was going to be at the fairgrounds. But oftentimes he will say in one of his talks that I'm just a monk, nothing more, nothing less. Same thing. Yeah.
What is.
What
Yeah.
is. You know, that alone is really transforming because we can make the old adage, a mountain out of a molehill.
And we're good at it.
Right.
And we're good at it. Yeah, so it's, you know, whether it's looking at something in your past or whether it's confronting something in your present, it just is.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to be any bigger than that. It
Yeah.
just is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be.
Now, let's talk a little bit about, I think, one of your favorite subjects, gratitude. And by the way, this is my first time in announcing that a dear friend of mine, Steve Ross, who owns the Vogue here in Indianapolis, and the Vogue is a sponsor of the show also, we've created a TED-inspired event called Walk the Talk, creating an epic shift. And auditions are going to be coming up. I want to say March 11th. I don't have the dates in front of me. March 18th, maybe. March 18th, I think. And then June 22nd is the first event. But the topic we chose under spirituality and social action is gratitude. And so anybody who has a message, about a 10-minute message where you can weave in stories, enthusiasm, whatever on gratitude, you're invited to go to the Facebook page or contact me at the end of the show. I'll give you contact information and I'll show you how to do that. And come to the Vogue on that night and you'll audition, and then we'll have a set group of people, much like a TED Talk, but it'll be on the power of gratitude. So let's talk about gratitude.
Oh, you're right. It is my favorite subject.
And how important that is and how easy it is to practice.
It is, you know, and it's so easy to put that in and fold that into your living. I am blessed that when I was growing up, my dad's first words when he woke up in the morning was, "This is the day the Lord made. Thank you."
Yeah.
And then when he went to sleep, it was, "Thank you for a good day, Lord."
Ah.
That's
What a
just
sweet
what it
ritual
was.
to have.
Yeah, you know, whether you woke him up or, you know, I mean, I as he got older in life, I got to be more privileged to see that waking and sleeping, and it never changed. It was always the same conversation.
Yeah.
And I find myself doing the same thing, you know, and in the times when, you know, maybe I can't fall asleep and it's like, okay, what am I thankful for? You know, is it this pillow? Is it this bed? Is it my creature comforts? Is it the wonderful souls who have walked this journey with me? It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And instead of counting sheep, I count gratitude points and I drift nicely off to sleep. But, you know, it's also important, again, for the models we set for the people in our lives, you know, always being grateful and always acknowledging that gratitude, you know, in a verbal sense. You know, I'm sure there are an awful lot of people who really, truly are grateful for a lot of things, but they don't verbalize it. And by verbalizing it out into the world, you know, when you speak it, it becomes real.
Yeah.
When you speak it, someone else gets to acknowledge their gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, when you speak it, those little people around you get to acknowledge, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. You know, again, it's those subtle cues, those not, in this case, it is a verbal thing you're teaching, but it's not, you're not teaching them, okay, now you have to say your gratitude prayers. It's, they're watching you, and by example, they're witnessing your gratitude.
Well, what you're saying is gratitude becomes a lifestyle, not just something you check off on a list.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many great plans. You know, there's gratitude journals. You know, keeping a gratitude journal is really, really really good from the standpoint of, if all you want to write down is 5 things you're grateful for every day, some days you can't stop at 5. And you realize, oh my goodness, I'm awash in riches. I may not have a dime to my name, but I am awash in riches. And it changes your state, it changes your physiology, and more important, what you put out into the world comes back to you. Always, that's true. And so speaking your gratitude whenever you get the opportunity to.
Yeah. And it helps us being grateful for what we already have, not complaining what we don't have, which often happens in this country. It changes your focus. Exactly. Again, because if you focus on the positive, I'm grateful for all these things that I have, you kind of forget to notice what you don't have. You may know it, but you haven't given life to it. You haven't given voice to it. Whereas when you're always concentrating on what I don't have, like I didn't get that raise this year. I didn't make $1 million this year. I didn't get that bonus. You're always focusing on the lack. And so what's going to come back to you? More lack. The world's going to prove to you, yep, you didn't. Yep, you didn't. Here again, you didn't get that. You didn't get this. Whereas when you're thankful for things, it's like you continually find things to be thankful for. Yeah.
I personally love the smell of lilacs. This time of year, I am a crazed individual. My nose goes bananas. I have a very, very tuned nose. And I recently found there are 2 more bushes that smell just like those lilacs. And they're not technically lilac bushes, but oh, how delightful. And one of them's outside my office window.
Well, and that taps into also being still, being mindful, slow, literally physically slowing down, even on a walk, because then you pay more attention to those beautiful smells, beautiful sights, beautiful sounds that are all around us. They've always been there.
And once again, there's an embarrassment of riches in our world for us, and all we have to do is notice them.
Yeah. Let's talk about Stillpoint Family Chiropractic before we're done, because that's why you're here, and you've created such a beautiful space for healing.
Thank you.
And I love the website. I got on a couple days ago, and I saw photos of a lot of people I know who've been there holding up. I forgot what the sign says now, but what a great idea!
I love my chiropractor.
I love my chiropractor.
You silly thing. What would it say?
Yeah. Talk about the very services that you offer there.
Oh, first and foremost, we're checking that master system, which is your nervous system. It controls absolutely every aspect of you. But, for those who want to take the journey a little bit farther, we talk about things like nutrition.
Yeah.
We talk about hair tissue mineral analysis, which takes nutrition to a much higher level. We have massage available, and oh my goodness, my massage therapist is amazing. She's just fabulous.
Yeah.
Amanda Nash, she's wonderful.
Okay.
We do classes, all different kinds of classes. Sometimes we do a meditation class, which is really a basic level introductory. Here's what it is, here's what it isn't. You don't have to be able to sit in a lotus position and, with a mudra and do Om. That's not required.
Yeah.
It's as simple as if you don't want to get on the floor, sit in a chair, So we do classes that help demystify some things.
Yes.
Over the years, we've done some nutrition classes. We've done, I even did a kombucha making class one year. It's just whatever the need arises at the time, that's what we fulfill.
Wonderful. And nutritional counseling. There's so many other things.
Yep.
What is the web address?
Web address is my last name, so it's drpennella.com. So it's drpennella.com.
Wonderful. And if some of you, and by the way, sometimes listeners will contact me and say this, they don't have a computer. Some of our older listeners, for example. The phone number to call is 317-863-0365. That's 317-863-0365. That's Stillpoint Family Chiropractic up in the lovely Fishers area. My guest right now has been Dr. Mary Grace Pennella, a dear friend, also sponsor this radio show, and a wealth of information.
Yes.
And someone who I'm hopefully looking forward to seeing on stage speaking. And thank you for coming down to the studio.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I absolutely adore being on the show, and it always is great conversation. I hope the listeners enjoy it as much.
Such a joy to have 2 of my favorite people on today's show. Mary Grace Pennella is just a wealth of information, and I would really encourage you to check her out at Stillpoint Family Chiropractic. The phone number again is 863-0365, and I'm grateful that she came on today. Before we get to Rick Monteith, who is my go-to guy when I want to also learn about supplements and so many other things too, and also has an amazing seminar coming up that I'm going to try to be at myself. Before we get to that interview, I first want to give more love to the rest of our sponsors on this show. We're bringing love to life here on 88.7 FM WICR.
This WICR program is underwritten in part by Georgetown Natural Foods Market, located at 4375 Georgetown Road on Indy's west side. They carry organic produce and bulk body care products such as shampoo, lotion, soaps, and shower gel. Their kitchen serves soup, sandwiches, hot entrees, and carry-out food. Plus, they have a juice bar. Georgetown Natural Foods Market, located at 4375 Georgetown Road on Indy's west side. Their website is georgetownmarket.com. This program is sponsored in part by The Playful Soul, an event venue, yoga studio, art gallery, and boutique for your spirit. At The Playful Soul, you'll find books, candles, essential oils, jewelry, clothing, music, and meditation aids. Located in the Broad Ripple Village, they also offer meditation groups, dream groups, and book conversations. The address is 6516 North Ferguson. Their website is theplayfulsoul.com.
Richard Brendan, Bringing Love to Life is underwritten in part by Anthony Team Realty, an affiliate of FC Tucker Company. Jim Anthony and his team have the resources to assist you in buying or selling a home and have a full slate of real estate services in Indianapolis, Central Indiana, and beyond. To contact Jim and the Anthony team, their phone number is 317-844-4200 or online at anthonyteamrealty.com.
Rick Monteith, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, thank you for taking time to join us today. This is the time of year when you have a lot of major events. You just had your big event on Saturday, and I know that went very, very well. First of all, talk a little bit about what you did on the Saturday event.
Well, we do an annual, what we call a Spring into Wellness event. Usually it's about the third week of April, and we invite a number of local vendors to participate, some practitioners, and we also do a cookout where we grilled buffalo burgers, smoking goose hamburgers, and we also offered vegan burgers, along with some homemade slaw and chips, and we do that for $3.99 a plate.
That's a great cost.
Which is a great deal. And
yeah.
We do that just to invite people to come to the store and meet the local vendors, and that's the primary thing, is to get people to know who they're buying their food and products from.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always well attended. I know what we want to highlight right now is an event you have coming up on Tuesday, May 3rd, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. And this is on a topic that is becoming more and more popular. It's still controversial to a degree. And we're holding an event where I'm bringing in a gentleman that I've known for many years. His name is Stuart Tomk. It's kind of an unusual last name, T-O-M-C. And he's the vice president of nutrition for a company called Canavest. And they're out in California. And we sell their products. They're CBD products derived from agricultural hemp. And one of the main purposes of bringing Stuart in is to explain the difference of agricultural hemp versus medical marijuana, and then get into the specific health benefits of CBD for our health, because there's a lot of research and more research showing the wide variety of health benefits of consuming or taking CBD, which I've been looking at for a couple of years now, and I'm just really excited to have a very knowledgeable person to come to the store and be able to explain to the general public. There's no charge for this meeting, and if you can come, listen to his presentation, ask the questions, and get all the information regarding CBD and how it differs from medical marijuana.
CBD, I hadn't heard about that before. Is that something that's gaining in popularity?
I'd say in the last 2 years is probably one of the most, as far as in terms of gaining popularity, that people probably haven't heard of, that they're now hearing more and more about, especially in the areas of, probably the two areas of health that they're finding beneficial uses for CBD, and then CBD stands for cannabidiol. That's CBD is a short for the term cannabidiol, which is a component in both hemp and medical marijuana. Now, in medical marijuana, just give you a short, brief explanation is that we know more about the marijuana side because of the psychoactive properties, which is due to the THC content of medical marijuana. Marijuana does contain low levels of CBD, but the hemp, it's legal in all 50 states, and the CBD is a prominent component and has very little THC, so you don't have the concern about they're getting a high or the psychoactive properties of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the two areas of health that I was referring to, one is cancer, and the other is for people with seizures or epilepsy, any neurological condition.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding that CBD may be beneficial.
Okay.
And that's how I first heard about it, was watching a CNN report that I'm sure you're familiar with, Sanjay Gupta.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He did a segment probably 3 years ago, I'm thinking, regarding weed, and he did the investigation. Originally, Sanjay was very much against legalizing marijuana.
Yes.
Saw the research, especially when it comes to seizures and how it can help young kids. So he focused on a young girl that's less than 2 years old. She was born with, or shortly after birth, developing many seizures. She would have literally dozens of seizures during the daytime and nighttime. And her parents tried all the traditional medications and pharmaceutical drugs, and it just got worse and worse. And then someone suggested that maybe, and they live in Colorado, so they were lucky in that aspect.
Right.
So a friend suggested that they give her medical marijuana, and they gave her her first dose orally, and her seizure stopped the first day.
Wow.
So that kind of grabs your attention, Richard.
Well, it surely does. And I'm thinking of just so many people that I know personally that ought to be at this event. Is this the first time, as far as you know, anybody in Indianapolis has offered a seminar like this on this particular?
Yeah, to my knowledge, it's the first in Indianapolis and probably Indiana. I haven't heard of any others. That's why I'm so excited to have our first meeting, and I'm just inviting people first to come and just learn, be open-minded and learn about the potential health benefits.
Yeah.
And then chances are they may know somebody that has seizures or epilepsy or convulsions or has cancer. Those are the two main areas. I've also had, I've been carrying and selling the CBD products from this company since last year, late last fall.
Okay.
And I've also had customers that have had very quick resolution of anxiety problems. So it helps in that aspect. I have a customer I've known for many years. She was having head pain, undescribed, not sure where it came from. She tried different things. I suggested oral spray of the CBD product. She tried that, and within a day or two, the pain had subsided. I know these are anecdotal, but these are real-life people that I know personally that are getting results, and that's what I'm all about, is getting results.
Oh, absolutely. I know you are. And that's really what Georgetown Market is all about and has been for decades. And by the way, the location is 4375 Georgetown Road, right here in Indianapolis. The phone number to call is 317-293-9525. And I believe the website is Georgetown Market, right?
Yes,
.com?
GeorgetownMarket.com. We just put up a new website, which I'm really excited about. It looks so much better. It's very professional.
It is.
We own the site now. Before it was what I call a template that many other natural food stores around the country used. But this gives us much more flexibility. So we have a new website up, so that is the correct website address.
Yeah, it's beautifully done. And
Thank
again,
you.
GeorgetownMarket.com. The event we're talking about, I really would encourage all of you who are listening, who know people who are dealing with pain of some kind or disease of some kind, to come to this event. Nationally known experts going to be there. We had a chance for questions and answers and such. It's going to take place Tuesday, May 3rd from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Georgetown Market. Again, the address is 4375 Georgetown Road, and you can go to georgetownmarket.com and get more information. Rick Monty, thank you so much for coming on and updating us about some events coming up.
Thank you very much, Richard. My pleasure.
Well, we've heard from Mary Grace and also Rick, and here are just a few insights that I've gleaned over the years that you could put under self-love. First of all, the great Bradford Kenny once said, "There is a wick within you that is waiting to become the light of your soul. When this inner flame burns brightly, you will feel a magnificent awakening in your life." You know, each of us has an internal flame that is the keeper of our, I'll call it, life force. Each choice we make either adds to this life force, making it stronger, igniting and feeding our flame, or diminishes the force, dampening our internal flame, reducing its power. When our internal fire roars, we feel strong, powerful, we feel confident. We have the courage and strength to speak truthfully and ask for what we need. Strong flame propels us into higher states of consciousness where self-love and emotional freedom reside. Now think about sometimes when you've had those feelings. You know what I'm talking about. Another famous quote that came from Emerson that I love that also talks about this very thing is, "What lies before us and what lies behind us are small matters compared to what lies within us. And when we bring what is within out into the world, miracles happen." Well, that's what Emerson was talking about as well. Emerson was a New Thought leader, a very early New Thought leader. He also had a sense of that inner flame. We all have it. You have that. No matter how you're feeling right now, you have that. And it's either at full roar or just a flicker. And when our flames are low, well, we're vulnerable, weak. We feel scared and apprehensive. We're worried. There's a lot of self-doubt. And when our flames have not been cared for and fed, we hunger for things outside ourselves to make us feel better. The size and health of our flame also affects those around us. Our flames are our life force, our spirit. So, here's the good news. Your only job in life is tending to that inner flame. Let me say it again. Your only job in life is tending to that inner flame, keeping it vital and roaring, because it alone can give you all the love, money, health, security, and peace of mind you desire. All right, now, here's a few choices that dim your light. Being around people that criticize you and can't see you're magnificent, that will clearly dim your light. The shoulds, the have-tos, the trying to get others' approval, lying to yourself, gossiping, being late, judging others, judging yourself, that will definitely dim your light. Here are a few choices that make your fire roar, go to that full flame. Taking time for yourself, spending time with those you love, noticing what you've done well, not what you've done wrong. That kind of kicks into gratitude, what MG was talking about earlier in the show. Taking care of your body. Rest, by the way, is probably one of the best things you could do to take care of your body. Play. Don't forget to play. That little boy or little girl inside that adult body is longing to play. That also dovetails into laughter. Don't forget to laugh every day. Spending money wisely, planning for the future, hanging out with people who inspire you, honoring your word, being compassionate, doing what you love, dancing, forgiving, being present with the people that you love. Those are just a few choices that you can make proactively that will keep your flame high, and be aware of the choices that you're making, maybe even subconsciously, that is dimming that flame. But flame on, dear one. You have that bright light, and this world needs what you have to offer. Do not undermine what you have to offer to others, no matter who you are, no matter what your age is, no matter even your mobility. I want to thank you for joining us. That is today's program. By the way, you can also listen to this podcast on our website at richardbrendon.org, courtesy of Blog Talk. But for engineer Dacia Stewart, and also production coordinator Angel Richardson. I'm Richard Brendan. We're bringing love to life, one broadcast at a time.